Welcome, everyone, to a special edition of the Cabral and Salisbury show. Today, we are going to be focusing on mental health. First, quick hey from Sean.
Hello.
All right. Now that we got that out of the way, we're going to go right into our first story, just a brief one. Let's face it, guys, a lot has happened in the last month, including the unfortunate death of John Madden, legendary NFL commentator, head coach of the Raiders all those years ago. Uh, Sean, do you know anything about him?
I do. He was a broadcaster. He was the head coach of the Raiders for 10 years, and he's an actor in some commercials, believe it or not. This man has had a very successful career. He won 16 Emmys as a broadcaster. He's the pioneer for video games such as Madden, obviously. He's a best-selling author. He was John Robinson's best friend, and he was drafted by Philadelphia in 1958, although his career ended when he tore his knees. And what else do you know about him?
Other than what you pretty much named, and you pretty much just covered it, but as I was mentioning before, he was the legendary head coach of the Oakland Raiders at the time. Uh, trying to remember the amount of years, but that doesn't matter. What does matter is the fact that they were the powerhouse. You know, they were the team to beat. They were always in the AFC Championship. They always had, a winning record every year. Something that not many coaches, if any others, can say.
Hmm.
John, he had a way of connecting to his players, and they played a rough style of football, a lot of hard hitting, a lot of running the ball. Um, but that was John, you know. Uh, Legendary commentator as we mentioned. I remember. I mean, like I was young when he was commentating, but I remember like watching like old tapes of like old football games and
Hmm.
listening to him. And man, nobody could explain anything like him. Like it was just so entertaining to hear the way he would say things. Like he'd be like, the runner is going down the field, and the linebacker tackles it, and boom, ball pops out. He would say funny stuff like that. You couldn't help but laugh and just be so entertained by it. And he just had a way with explaining the game and talking about it, and he would get so excited, and it was amazing to watch. Um, and yeah, it was he definitely had a big impact on my life and like my love for football. Like he had a part in that. Obviously, he is responsible for the Madden video game that I love so much. Even though every year there's always an issue with it. And every year they're saying, "Oh, hashtag fix Madden franchise." Well, this year they're saying something else. Isn't that right, Sean?
This is true. They are. There's a. They're trying. With obviously Madden's passing, people are taking to social media and telling the developers of Madden to make a special Legend Edition centered around John Madden. We see this on social media. Hashtag do the right thing. With him being a powerhouse in his time. Six division titles in his first 7 years. He loses one game in his regular season. He's using strategies from big names, Norm Van Brocklin, Al Davis, Don Coryell. His entire offensive line are Hall of Famers, and you know that very well.
I do.
And he deserves to be honored, especially in, the game that he basically pioneered. I'm sure you agree with that.
Oh, absolutely. Like you can't tell the story of NFL or like the story of the Madden video game without John Madden. You just can't. Like that is how much of an impact that he had on the sport. A lot of people that came after him, like that's who they look up to. That was the gold standard of like what to be in the NFL.
For sure, for sure. And like when you have a icon such as him, and especially with how the games are, seen nowadays with all the criticism, I really do think they need to do the right thing for once, maybe, and give the fans what they want and honor the man that gave them their careers, especially him. If it wasn't for him, the sport would not be, I wouldn't say as big as it is now, but I feel like he really did influence many people back then. He really brought some people's moods up, and he's inspirational for what he did. He really brought the sport up to a new level.
100% agree with that. However, he's not the only former football player or person making headlines
Hmm.
recently. Uh, Antonio Brown. God damn. You know, I mean, I'm sure everybody's heard by now, because again, this was about a month ago. But Antonio Brown, during the Buccaneers game against the Jets, threw off his shirt, his pads, threw a peace sign up to the crowd, and left mid-game. Now, there's
Mhm.
been many different things said about that incident. As there always is, there's always two sides to every story.
Mhm.
One side, Bruce Arians' side, is saying that he told Brown to play, Brown refused, and therefore he said, "All right, then you're no longer a Buck." And Brown's like, "All right, fine," and took everything off and left. The other side saying that Brown, kind of the same thing, is Bruce Arians told him to play. However, Brown was nursing an injury.
Mhm.
Um, and Arians like, "I don't care. You're going in the game. We need you. Like, you need to play." You know.
Mhm.
And at first, it kind of did seem like, oh, this is just another, Antonio Brown experience type thing, and we'll get into that in a moment,
Mhm.
but I mean, I came, I know I'm backtracking a little bit now, but I know I said there was two sides to the story, but I mean, at first, really, it was endless theories. There was the theory that Uh, there was a theory that Brown was so many catches away from getting a bonus, and Bruce Arians didn't want him to get to that point, which is not
Right.
surprising. There have been incidents of this in the past with Arians, with other coaches, of like purposely not targeting or putting receivers in games or any skill player so that they don't hit that point in
Mhm.
their contract where they get a bonus. Um,
Right.
there was talks of Brown refusing to play. There was talks of Brown refusing to play because of the injury. There was rumors that Arians knew about the injury but still told Brown to go in. Um, but again, nobody knew what to make of it in the beginning. But
Right.
then an investigation started, and more information got out, and Antonio Brown had text messages from Bruce Arians saying you need to play, and Brown saying, "Well, I'm injured. Doctors say I'm hurt," and Arians was like, "No, you're playing. We need you."
Mhm.
So a lot of people are actually on Antonio Brown's side. But the thing with Antonio Brown is he's kind of built this reputation over the years, and like I mentioned it before, it's the Antonio Brown experience. Now, Sean, why don't you list off some of the key moments in the Antonio Brown experience for those that don't know?
Oh, I'm glad to. And this is not the first incident he's had over the years. If big fans of football might know. He had a problem with the Steelers back in December 2018. This goes back where he had a heated exchange between Big Ben and during practice. Brown threw the football at him, and he skipped practice completely, and he's benched. And then in February 2019, he parted ways with the Steelers. Then later that year, in July, he was traded to the Raiders, and he was unhappy with the helmet he was supplied. And he tried sneaking his own helmet into practice, and that career quickly ended with 0 games played, where his career ended there September 7th. You know, the Raiders released Brown quickly. Like, he posted to social media asking to be released. Like, he literally asked to be released because, the Raiders, I believe, did void some guarantees in his contract, and they wanted him to pay a fine. I'm gonna have to say it was around $200,000, 215, around there,
Yep,
something like that.
I remember that. Yep.
And I don't. He wanted nothing to do with this, so he basically asked to be released. And their wish was his command. Boom, he's gone.
Yeah, I remember him taking to social media. I'm free. I'm free after the
Yeah,
announcement.
yeah.
Oh
And
man.
on September 9th, he signs with the Patriots. He signs a 1-year deal for a lot of money, 15 million bills. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
September 10th to 15th, he's accused of sexual assault by ex-trainer Brittany Taylor. 3 different occasions from June 2017 and May 2018 just coming up. Now, these accusations came this year, and it's not going to help the way people look at him now, especially with him being released from the Raiders and him being signed by the Pats. That's for sure. And September 20th, soon later down from those accusations sprawling up, They release him. The Pats just released him due to all the lawsuits. And, he's not paying. He was also being accused of not paying wages to his former assistants and
Yeah.
part-time employees. And, you can't do that. So that's understandable. Like, not only does he have these sexual assault, allegations, but now he's being accused of not paying wages for his employees. That's already not a good look for you. And that's understandable why the Pats released him, It's kind of a theme for him to get released from teams. And I'm sure you're going to bring that up here in a moment. I just want
Yeah.
to bring up in the 2020s, January, he's charged with burglary and battery against a truck driver. Oh, battery felony. He receives 2 years of probation. July 2020, suspended for 8 games for violating NFL policy. October 2020, he signs with the Bucks, reunites with Tom Brady. That's a big deal. 2021 of May, or May 2021, he re-signs with the Bucks. Bucks claimed their Super Bowl win, their Super Bowl win. Browns signed a 1-year deal, $3.1 million. Then in December, he's suspended for lying about his vaccination status. Like this man, you can see a pattern here, and
The long list. Oh, and I think you forgot to mention. I mean, didn't he retire and then unretire like 27 times over social media?
and that's
Like,
the AV experience.
yeah, you
That
can't
is
forget
the
that.
AV
Like,
experience.
that's Antonio Brown, and a lot of people say he hasn't been the same since being knocked out in that game against the Bengals a few years back. I think it was Fontes Perfect is the one who knocked him out right on the field. A lot of people say he just hasn't been the same since that hit. That did something to his brain. Now, I'm sure many people, if they know about CTE and how that's been a big deal over the last, I'd say, decade, maybe more. Yeah, if people know about that, then they know like that's something that's been theorized. Uh, that concussion injury that unfortunately, unfortunately, we've lost many players, former players, many greats, to suicide and to other circumstances, but all regarding CTE.
CTE.
And the brain does take a lot of damage, but then you also so you got to think about like the mental health issues that can cause.
Right. Well, with history of sports, again, CTE is very serious. And before they discovered it, I forget the doctor who discovered it. I forget his name. Before he discovered it, a lot of players were suffering from it, and a lot of people died. It's just, like, you can't fight an enemy you don't know how to defeat.
Absolutely.
And that really ruined some people's lives. Not only did it ruin their lives, it ruined their lives of their families just because of how they acted and how they took their lives, some of them. And it's not only CTE that can really affect people's lives, it's other aspects of mental health, anxiety, depression, stuff like that. I'm sure you can list more. Those are the two big ones, anxiety and depression, you can really think about, like, in regards of mental health. And, it plays a huge part in our modern world. Because, what am I trying to say? I guess what I'm trying to say is, it plays a big role, and you got to know how to detect it and treat it. Because if you don't, it can really get out of hand, and it can, control your life.
It can control your life. It can hurt the ones around you, your loved ones. Mental health is no joke. It's something very serious. It's something that needs to be dealt with. And as somebody who who does suffer from both, I have been diagnosed with both. I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm very open about my experience. I mean, hell, we've had to delay episodes, because of my mental health. I mean, it's, for a long time, I did let it control me, and
Right.
I can tell anybody, like, it's not easy, and it's not something that's necessarily a choice. I know some people believe, oh, it's just a choice, it's all in your head. Like, no, not really.
Right. No, it's absolutely not. There's chemicals in the brain, and I did a presentation in school on how video games can affect the brain and how it releases certain chemicals and different types of, I forget the name of it, but chemicals in the brain. And, anxiety and depression, when you play games, it's alleviated. So it's not just, people say it's in your head. No, it's a chemical imbalance, and there's no way you can control that.
Absolutely.
My family, a part of my family has a history with anxiety, and it's not easy. Even sure pills can help. At the end of the day,
To
you
a
need to
point.
seek help. Yeah, to a point. But people need to be willing to be helpful, and they just need the extra push. You have to be there to guide those people. If you keep telling them that it's in their head, it's just gonna get worse. They're gonna think that because now you're putting more thoughts in their head, saying, "Oh, no one cares about me." Oh, well, if it's all in my head, I need to snap out of it. But then that's just gonna make it worse.
Right, and
You know?
you said something key that's key there. It's they need to be willing to be helped.
Right.
And that's a big struggle getting to that point. Like as I was saying about me, like it took me a very long time. It took me years to get to that point. And now that I finally have, I mean, yeah, things aren't perfect. Yeah, I still have my bad days or periods of time, and where I don't
Mhm.
feel motivated to do a thing or I'm too overwhelmed with everything. But
Mhm.
you know, it does get easier over time. It
Mhm.
does, but you need to tell yourself, look, I have people around me who do care about me, and
Right.
that'll help me if I need it. But ultimately, I need to help. I want to be able to help myself first. I need to make that decision for myself, and it's not easy. It's not easy getting to that point. It's not, and for the people that do, once you've gotten to that step, you're already like halfway there. Like, it doesn't seem like that, but the first step is always the hardest, and it's always the biggest, in my eyes. I don't know if
Right.
that really makes sense or not, but I
It
can tell
does.
you have something to say, so go for it.
No, no, no. I was like, no. Some people, it's not just as easy as, well, you need to seek help, and it's their duty to get help. Sometimes they just need the help from someone. If you can see signs of someone suffering from that, maybe especially if you're close to them, maybe you should, that's an incentive to go up and at least talk to them, make their day better. Get them the help they need. I'm not saying you got to pay their, their medical bills or something like that. I'm just saying, suggest it to them, seek help. I'm here to talk anytime you need it. Or make sure you talk to a friend. Make sure you talk to a family member if you don't really trust me that much. Make sure they're at least venting about their problems. Or if they have like a pet, pets really do help, especially with anxiety. And I mean, I don't really suffer from that as much. I've had my bits here and there, but ultimately, if I ever did, I have a dog here. I love to death. He's basically my kid. I can always go to him, or I can talk to my friends. I can talk to my parents, about things. And it's always good to have someone around. I'm sure he's fine with this. My dad, his side of the family suffers with that, and he has his best friend to talk to about that stuff. That when he does have those bits, in time, he always has that person to talk to, and people really need to find out who their best friends are. Definitely, if you're not comfortable seeing a doctor about it, at least talk to someone about it. And if you're depressed, that's definitely something you need to get checked out because the doctors aren't going to force pills down your throat. They're going to get you therapy. They're going to get you help. And I have never went to therapy. I had never needed it because, quite frankly, I have people to talk to if I ever have an issue like that, and I haven't had an issue like that for a while. Um, but I'm sure you know where I'm coming from on this,
I and
and
I do. I know where you're coming from this, and like you said, some people don't want to see a doctor or a therapist about it, and that's fine. But it's finding that person. So now, some
mhm,
people, I will say this, sometimes you do have somebody that you feel like you can go to, but you don't want to tell them everything,
mhm,
just because there's certain things that you're still vulnerable to, if you know the
right,
person well and you know that they've gone through some stuff, there might be some things you don't want to say to them to trigger them. So,
mhm,
sometimes it's not just having one person. Sometimes it helps to have multiple people. Now, I'm not
right.
saying go and trust anyone and everyone, but
No,
have at least a small circle, of people that you do trust, 1 to 3 people, like at least.
mhm,
Um, I wouldn't say really more than that, but it's it is helpful to talk. A lot of people,
mhm,
I mean, for some people it doesn't help, and that's fine too. Everybody's different. Um, from my personal experience, I can say talking to somebody absolutely helps. It's somebody from the outside looking in. It's nobody close to you that's going to say everything you want to hear. It's
Hmm.
not somebody who is necessarily going to judge you. It's somebody who's
Hmm.
going to try to look at everything from the outside. And that's why I
Hmm.
suggest a therapist. I know people hear that word and they go, "Oh no, well, I don't have a problem." Like that makes me think I have a problem. And like it's not necessarily that you have a problem. It's just that you have this thing that's controlling your life, and you need, for certain most people, I would say, you just need to get that out in some way. And I think a therapist like is the best way. Um, but it's not just to have the therapist.
It's about talking to someone.
It's about talking to somebody, and it's
And again, if you're not, I'm sorry to cut you off. And
go
if it's
ahead.
not talking to someone, pets do help. Just having feeling of, even if it's, I don't know, a cat or a dog, just having them nearby while you're venting about an issue, that really helps because you're getting it out of your system. And, obviously your dog isn't going to talk back to you. Your cat isn't going to talk back to you. So, there's nothing to worry about, you know.
Right.
Even, a pet can help you a lot.
Absolutely. Um, whatever it is that
And, oh, I'm
whatever it is
sorry to
that
cut you off
works
again.
for you, it's alright, but
Right.
whatever works for you, do it, and that's not gonna, in my experience, it's not gonna be one thing.
Hmm.
It's kind of like falling asleep at night. Like if you need help falling asleep at night and you take melatonin every night, you're gonna build a tolerance to that. That's not gonna work
Hmm.
anymore. So you need to find multiple things that are gonna work for you, whether it's talking to somebody, whether it's playing video games, whatever you need to do,
Right.
whatever,
Yeah,
you know.
I would have to say during high school, I don't know, I wouldn't say past freshman year was that anxiety inducing, but I will say freshman year, new experience, classes could be overwhelming because I wasn't really, a lot of kids, especially every new freshman when they're trying to get good grades, it can be overwhelming, you know. And I will say in that period of life, and my parents a little bit before, I think also during that period, were also going through a divorce, so. Um, it was a lot, a lot going on. I will say video games really did help. My dog helped, you know. I will have to say Ark. You guys have heard about Ark Survival Evolved. I played that, taming dinosaurs. I know, stupid as it sounds. As stupid as that sounds, it really calms you down. I haven't really had a bad experience since then, but the gaming really has helped me during that specific time. And I no longer suffer about that stuff. I know that's a thing of the past. And that's good. If you find a coping mechanism or I don't know what the exact wording. I'm just gonna use coping mechanism. I'm sure there's different terms, but you know, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. Between the period of January and February 2021, the CDC reported that 2 in 5 adults aged 18 years or older experience symptoms, or I think younger, it could be both, experience symptoms of an anxiety or depressive disorder during the study the past 7 days. 1 in 4 adults who experienced these symptoms reported that they needed but did not receive counseling or therapy for their mental health. Meaning, during the study, the adults that experienced problems didn't feel like they needed help, but they needed it. They didn't feel like it, but they definitely did need the help. And this is from the CDC, mind you. So it is a known issue. A lot of people suffer from it. It's not just people like yourself. No, like no offense. Not everyone experiences a period of their life where they're gonna have a bunch of anxiety, maybe some depression,
Or both.
stuff like that, or both, a mix. And that's what the kicker is. One can lead to the other, and that's the killer.
And that's especially when it does become challenging, because the way
Mhm.
that one would describe anxiety and depression, it's kind of like being on both sides of the spectrum there. Both sides. It's like having bipolar disorder. Like that's what it feels like. One minute, like you're overwhelmed and you're panicking, and then the next minute you're sad and unmotivated and don't want to move. Like
Mhm.
and they do play off of each other. Because if you say like I've done this with school, I mean, college is very stressful. I mean, I think anybody can agree with that. Um,
Mhm.
but I've done it with like my classwork. I'm sitting there like, like overwhelmed, like, oh my God, like I have too much. like too much to do. Like there's so many assignments, so many like they're all due soon. Like I don't. What am I gonna find the time? I have to work. I have to do this. I have to do that. I then and I'm like, this alone's gonna take me 2 days to do, and this alone, like and by the time that you're done sitting there, like laying everything out that you have to do, you're like, oh, well, I'm tired now. I don't want to do it now. I'm overwhelmed. Like now I'm like I need to relax. I need to breathe, and then you sit there and you take a break, but then while you're doing that, you're alone with your thoughts, and that's when the depression creeps in. you know,
Mm.
and you go, oh well, I'm too tired. I don't want to do this now. Like, I don't want to
Mm.
do my schoolwork. Like I don't want to move. I just want to lay here in bed all day, And then
Right.
a day goes by, and then you go, oh shit, I lost all this time, and then boop, that's where the anxiety kicks back in, and it's a vicious cycle. That
Right.
sometimes it doesn't end for long periods of time.
Right. And that's the thing. That's why people need to seek help or talk to someone. It goes back to that. Even if they don't feel like they could, trust everyone, they don't want to see a doctor. Again, there's always a resource that you can go to. Even if you don't feel like they care, they do.
Yeah,
Just hit someone
that's
up. Message someone.
you know,
Because if you keep those feelings in, it's just gonna get worse and
exactly,
worse.
and as somebody who has experienced these things myself, I can tell you bottling it up it's so much worse. So much worse. Because
Yep.
then what ends up happening is one day you hit that breaking point and you just
Mm,
explode and you don't care who it's to, you don't care who you hurt in that moment. And then
mm-hmm.
afterwards, once you realize the damage that's been done, it's painful. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it took me getting into a fight, with my parents, not physical but verbal, for me to realize like, oh shit, yeah, like I need to do something about this. Like I can't,
Mm-hmm.
I can't, because like I love my parents very much. Like I want to have like a relationship with them. Like I want them to like, I want to be able to come visit. Once I've moved out, like I want to come visit and like have dinners with them
Mm-hmm.
and like, for them to be a part of my life. And then when I eventually have kids of my own, I want
Mm-hmm.
them to have a relationship with each other. So like that's the thing. Like anxiety and depression, like if you let it control you and you let it get to that point where you have those outbursts, it could ruin your relationships with the people closest to you,
Mm-hmm.
And I sat here and thought like, well, if I'm doing this with my parents, who's to say I'm not going to turn around and do this to my girlfriend one day? Like,
Right.
you can't do that, because I mean that person isn't going to stick around to live through that. So,
Right.
no matter how like,
'Cause-
and that's the thing, like no matter how somebody cares about you, after a while, if you sit there and turn around, like I said, and have an outburst, like multiple outbursts on them, or, if you just keep dragging yourself down, eventually that person will, like that significant other, if you will leave. And it's
Mhm.
not because they don't care about you, but it's because, the people that do care about you don't want to see you hurting, and it hurts
Mhm.
them too much, and then that can have an effect on their mental health, and so you can see how it can branch out and affect everybody around you, and it's just basically like a chain reaction that just
Right.
never ends.
Right.
So it's very, very important that you sit there and decide for yourself, look, I need to work on me. I need to get to the root of the problem and
Right.
do as much as I can about it.
Right. That's really it. That that the main point of this, again, I'm going back, is get help. And
Because I mean,
it can
there's
be
somebody
hard.
that'll listen. There's somebody that will listen. There's
Right.
somebody that'll care.
Oh yeah. And I know you said, what you just said, people will leave, and there's a possibility anyway.
That's what I mean.
And,
Yes, there's a
but
possibility.
there's always a chance. There's always happiness. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Even if you don't see it that way, the brain is very hard to convince otherwise. The brain, your mind, can be your biggest enemy. You can truly be the worst enemy, your own worst enemy that you can't defeat. But I'll let
Absolutely.
you know. And I'm talking. I don't know if. I guess I can kind of talk for you because you're in a much better state than you were. You were your own worst enemy because I've known you for a long time, and you were able to defeat your own demons. And now look at you. You're a bit happier, in a better state than you were.
Yeah.
I would say 2, 3 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, and I mentioned earlier, I might not be perfect, and I might not, I still have my bad
No one
days, but
is.
I am so much better since seeking help, and seeking
Hmm.
resources and methods of coping and dealing with, my, again, anxiety and depression. I have been diagnosed with both. So,
Hmm.
and sometimes, and this is also another struggle, is sometimes you might solve one problem, but it might kind of help worsen the other.
Hmm.
And that's another tricky thing with it, especially when taking pills. Like, you know, I think if you're on pills, that shouldn't be the only thing you're doing,
Hmm.
because it can become dangerous in itself.
Right.
But some pills, they have a habit of, oh, well, here's pills for your anxiety, but oh, hey, one of the symptoms is depression, or, vice versa. Like
Yeah.
that can happen too. So you got to be, another thing you got to do is advocate for yourself
Hmm.
and be careful of what you're taking or doing, and making sure it's not solving one problem but creating another. And that's
Right.
another
And
problem that some people fall
another
into.
thing it boils down to is confidence. Anxiety and depression can really affect your confidence and your love for yourself. Especially when in like the relationship world. You can't love yourself, you can't love anyone else,
Absolutely.
you know? And obviously I'm single at this point in time, but I love myself enough. Obviously I have some imperfections and
And it's
I
okay.
love myself.
And it's okay to like not like everything about yourself.
Mhm.
Like if there's certain things, if you want to change them, go for it. But only do it if it's gonna make you happy. Don't do it because you
Right.
think it's gonna make other people happy. You know.
Correct.
But overall, like as long as you overall love yourself for who you are as a person, like that's the most important thing. Like I mean everybody has their things that they're insecure about, but as long as it's, you're controlling it and that those insecurities are like not becoming an unhealthy fixation for you, then, like I said, if there's something you want to change, go for it, but don't let it control you and be, and because then that's just gonna feed your, anxiety and depression too.
And another thing is overthinking,
Overthink
You got to silence your mind sometimes. Here's an example. You're driving, some people have driving anxiety. I don't because I can drive, from here to there. And you can obviously, but some people when they first start off, as an example, driving anxiety. Of course, when you're first starting off, you're gonna have some nervousness. But when you start overthinking, oh, I'm gonna turn here, I'm gonna crash. What if there's a light here? What if there's no stop sign? What if a guy comes on the wrong side of the road? That's just an example. You're overthinking the obstacles ahead of the road when there is none.
Yeah, and you're thinking the worst is going to happen when likely it's not. Like
And
it's,
go ahead.
no, go ahead, go for it.
No, it's like, and that's a huge problem. If you're overthinking, then the situation's gonna get worse. And, it could be due to past experiences, but if you haven't had a past experience, it's most likely your mind is in overdrive and you're thinking about an issue that isn't an issue. The best thing to do is to conquer that, Conquer what you're fearing. It's going to be extremely hard and it's easier said than done, that's for sure. I'm not saying, someone who's afraid of driving or afraid of spiders is going to drive on the highway or go hold a tarantula in their hands. No, you got to do it gradually, ease yourself into it. And there are also different types of anxiety. I know I'm kind of bouncing, from subject to subject on this particular topic.
Right, but it is a very complex, topic. Like
Yeah,
everybody's
obviously.
different, everybody's affected differently.
Absolutely.
So it's okay that you're bouncing around. I mean, it's expected for a
It's
topic
a
like
it's a
this.
large topic. You can't really expect to cover because this episode would be 2 hours long if we were to cover every aspect of this.
Right.
And I don't want a huge long episode because we also do have other episodes to record here. Um, but there are different types of anxiety. There's social anxiety where people are afraid to interact with other people. I'm sure everyone has this in one way or another. And there's situational anxiety where if someone gets into a situation, they're gonna start getting afraid. I'm gonna use my other side of the family as an example, or another family member. She got into a car accident. That's actually, I'm just gonna say it. It's my mother had a few car accidents, as you know, and now whenever someone's driving a certain way, she gets nervous, and that's understandable because that's what caused the accident.
Right. Right.
And when you
that's
get into a certain situation, then you're gonna start getting nervous. And for social anxiety, someone gets, I don't know, how am I going to describe it? All right, someone has social anxiety, they're going to be nervous to talk to someone they've never met. They're going to be nervous to pursue that career they want to pursue, but they're nervous they're going to do something wrong. They're going to say something stupid. They're going to mess up.
Right.
And, I'm pretty sure everyone has experienced this, especially when going into a new job or experiencing a new career. Whether it's a cashier or what's going into computer science, something like that. Being a doctor, especially.
Right. And
Like, there's anxiety with all of those positions. Like, if you're new to being a cashier, what if you mess up a number? What if you give them the wrong amount of cash? Oh, there's what goes my whole job. Doctor, what if I give this guy the wrong medicine? Oh, what if I give him the wrong diagnosis? I'm screwed. Stuff like that. You're afraid to mess up. You're afraid to tell people the wrong things. You're afraid to talk to people. Now, I wouldn't say I suffer from this a lot, but I do get a little nervous here and there. But that's kind of everyone gets nervous.
But yeah,
Going
and that's
to a job
normal,
interview.
and that's normal. And when we're saying to get help or, find things that work for you, we're talking about severe cases. I mean, everybody suffers from, like you said, like social anxiety and things like that. That's just normal. That's everyday living,
Mhm.
But for more severe cases, we're not saying they're not normal. That's when you need to consider, okay, what options, can I take? What steps can I take, to better myself and to fix this, not fix this problem, but to work at this issue that's controlling me.
Right. And that's the thing. You gotta learn how to control it. It's not gonna be easy. It might take years, but you can. Everything can be conquered. Driving anxiety, drive every day. Experience it at least one. I would say if you're nervous. All right. I'm just gonna give a few different scenarios and how you can approach them. I'm gonna one example I'll have as driving anxiety. Two would be a social anxiety issue, and the third one I'll have you talk about it. Um, and that'll be pursuing new things. So that means either going out with someone like a girlfriend, pursuing a hobby, dealing with work and school, which you are. But all right, let me go on with my scenarios. First off is driving anxiety. The easiest way to ease that, you got to do it every day. Or if you have a job, drive back into work. Take back roads at first, but then take the highway. That's the best way to get used to it. You can't be nervous about getting into a car accident every time because you can't predict that. You never can predict that. There's always gonna be a bad driver and there's always gonna be great drivers. That's just something you can't predict.
And just
Social anxiety.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, just be mindful, be careful of your surroundings, and that's kind of the whole point of driving is, just pay attention to what's around you, and just breathe and
Hmm.
take it, just
Right.
just take it slowly, and build your way up to work your way up to like you
And
said, the
yeah,
highway.
and I know someone who's afraid of getting pulled over. The best thing to do to get over that, just follow the road. Go with the speed limit. If someone beeps at you, screw them. You're doing the right thing.
Yep.
The best thing you can do is just follow the rules, stay calm at the best of your ability. The worst thing you can do is panic, because then that's when you mess up.
Exactly.
The second example would be pursuing a new career. So this would either you getting a new job, like a starter job, and I don't know, let's say you go into customer service. You work at a retail store or a grocery store, but same thing, same concept. You have to deal with customers every day. See, I wouldn't want to be a cashier because I would get a little afraid of messing with the numbers. Maybe I'm having I'm a sleepy day. You know,
Yeah.
everyone has those days where they're half asleep and they just don't want to be in work,
Right.
or if they're feeling bad. So my biggest concern, I'm not afraid to be a cashier. I'm afraid of messing up during the job and then getting fired for, or getting a customer angry at me for something stupid. And then I wouldn't be able to, do anything, and then there you go, my job's gone. That's my biggest concern, and that's what makes me a little nervous. But the cashier job itself, it's easy enough. Nowadays the computers do all the work for you. It's just the handling of the money. But if you're pursuing a new career, the best thing you can do, again, you're gonna get trained. Just know that you're gonna get trained.
Right.
You gotta make sure your supervisors know about your anxiety, even if it's a weeks down the road. Make sure they know about it so they can accommodate and they can help you out.
Right, and that's the thing.
And
It's like
if
businesses
like,
are
if you're unready for a job, they're gonna help you out.
right,
You know?
yeah, and businesses are being more and more mindful of things like that. Like, if things get really bad, you can take a leave of absence. Take a mental health day. Like, some businesses do offer those things. So, the world is becoming a more and more understanding place, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And now training's getting better for that. Managers are getting used to that, and I hope training is the best thing you can do, especially if a coworker, like a worker, is feeling uncomfortable. The manager can always, show them again. They can answer questions. That's the best part. And if you don't, again, this is all about seeking help. If you don't ask those questions, if you don't ask for help, it's just gonna keep getting worse. Your days are gonna be miserable. You're gonna be a nervous wreck. You're gonna think every customer is out to get you, when that's not really the case. That's just social anxiety at its finest. That's the worst type. I don't even know if I would say it's finest because it's not fine at all. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And especially in the work world, it's just a habit of doing it every day, getting used to it. Even if the job sucks, you got to get used to it until you find something better. And I got that advice from, mostly my mother. I hear about it, and it's not a bad thing. It's not. Sometimes you just have some sense talk to you. You talk down to you. You just gotta hand some sense out. And with the car issue, and I know a few people that experience this, personally, you just gotta conquer your own fear. Even if you have to ask someone to be in the car with you for a day or two, just so you can get used to the roads, that's fine. You can ask for help, but ultimately it's gonna be you that conquers that fear. It's gonna be you that conquers that obstacle. And for your scenario, did you think of anything else? Like maybe getting into a sport, maybe conquering school and work balance,
Um,
dealing with, a significant other along with that. I'm sure you know something about that. Why don't you go tell us a story? Your story.
right. So, I mean, just this is kind of like just an ongoing thing for me, but my schedule has always been very busy.
Mhm.
Which is another reason why we've had to delay episodes sometimes.
Mhm.
It's not easy balancing school and work and a girlfriend and family issues, and friend issues and a podcast, and it does get very overwhelming, and sometimes I have these mental breakdowns. I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know what to do, like I don't know where to start, like oh my God, you gotta stop. Take a
Mhm.
breath, ask yourself, okay, where am I now? What am I doing now? What can I do now?
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm not saying you have to do this, but this is something that works for me. Having a calendar, like a big, like one of those jumbo like desk calendars, and writing everything out.
Mhm.
Okay, look, this assignment for this class is due on this day. This assignment is due on this day. All right, I have work on this day from this time. Oh, okay, I have this with my girlfriend on this time at this day. And make that
Mhm.
schedule and plan things out, and it helps. And
Right.
because when you can, I especially think like when if you're overwhelmed over a schedule, seeing everything laid out helps. So you
Right.
can sit there and plan ahead for things. Now, yeah, right, yeah, granted, not everything goes to plan. But at least if you have everything laid out, you can sit there and adjust if you need to.
Right. You can sit there and plan for any scenarios that you think might happen. Obviously, I don't want you to overthink, but think of the possible scenarios like, say again, you're balancing school. Uh you have a test coming up. Prepare some time to study. Oh, the test is delayed. Well, there you go. Plan some time to study some more. Oh, you know, you got to plan, it's all about time allocation and, planning.
Right.
Plan for scenarios that all right, so podcasts getting canceled. What do we plan or what do we do? Find other topics. Oh, but say we don't have a lot of topics going around. All right, we come up with an episode like this, mental health, where we just talk about the important issues in the world,
Yep.
important issues that need to be discussed. Oh, Coolest J needs to be released, so we can't do all that at the same time. All right, schedule it different days for different episodes. Obviously, we can't record. We probably could, but then the content wouldn't be as good as it is. You
Exactly.
can't record everything in one day. You got to space that out. You always gotta plan ahead if you can. I'm not
Right.
saying you have to do it every time because sometimes not all plans are gonna be ruined. But
And let's
uh,
not forget. Oh, hey, we sat there and tried to record Clueless J. Oh, Twitch's streaming
yeah,
quality
Twitch
was
sucks.
terrible. So all right,
Yeah,
great. So we can't release this episode. All right, so let's
let's
work
go
on
on to the
this.
next
Let's
plan.
yeah.
Next game.
It's always and that's kind of thing with life is you just got to adjust
Right.
and make plans around things. And if that doesn't work out, okay, movie plans around and you know
Come up with a different plan. Come up for a plan for your plan.
exactly.
It's never the end of the world. I'll let you know that much. Until it is, it isn't. It's never the end. There's always, again, a light at the end of the tunnel where you can easily go and you can reach it. Any goal you set is realistic. Obviously, I'm not saying you'll become Superman. That's unrealistic. But setting a goal like, I don't know, you're going to become a doctor. There you go. That's a reasonable goal. What are you going to do to achieve that goal? Make your plan. Adjust accordingly. Anyone can do that. Anyone can do it. If you set a goal high, sure you'll have anxiety. Maybe some people suffer from depression and anxiety. You can find ways to cope with that over time. Like everything we mentioned previously. It's
Absolutely.
all about not only planning, but I don't know what I'm trying to say here is be ready. That's literally what I'm saying is be ready for whatever life throws at you. Because you will accomplish your goals. Sure, your goal might be adjusted or changed along the line, but when you're driving the car down your own road. You drive the car down the road you make. And sure, there might be a few detours because some of the roads might be closed. There's always a detour or a different road you can take. It's never one specific road you got to take,
And
one specific route.
and it's never one specific path. And
Right.
this is another thing actually that I just thought of. That's I know people who have struggled with is some people, they think they need to go to college right away, and some
Mhm.
people think that they don't, and then they get worried. Oh well, I don't know if I'll ever go. Oh, I don't know when I'll go. Like, oh, like I don't know when I'm gonna decide what I want to do with my life. Like, and that's fine. Like everybody has their own path. Like you were saying, there is not one straight path. And it's
Mhm.
kind of like actually reminds me of Moneyball, one of my favorite movies of all time. A quote from that movie. Um, we're all told that we can't keep playing the child's game. Some of us are told at
Mhm.
18, some of us are told at 40, but we're all told, and that's kind of like the same
Mhm.
thing. It's you when you are ready, you'll know what the answer is or what to do. Okay, and
Mhm.
however long that takes, it's fine. Because you'll get there when you're ready. You'll get there when you need to. I have this firm belief that everything works out. Everything happens for
Mhm.
a reason, and it's all going to
Mhm.
lead to something better.
Oh, I also have the same thing. Everything I have the same mantra. Everything happens for a reason. Nothing happens for no reason. Obviously, maybe you going to school is setting you for a better path. If you don't go to school, maybe it's setting you on a different path. Again, it's all about the road you take, or maybe there's a detour. At the end, if you don't like where you are, change it.
Right.
Find a way to change it. Because if you don't make your life, no one else is. And if you let someone make your life, that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, because then you won't truly be happy.
Correct. Now, am I saying, all right, well, my road led me to a 9 to 5 job. Well, I'm not happy. Well, again, like I said, change it. If you think school is the option, go for school. Maybe you don't have to go to school. You can get a certificate, a certification in something, something that you enjoy. Find a hobby, make a podcast, make YouTube videos, play games, get good at a game, record yourself playing the game. You might get, noticed. Draw,
Yeah.
do something. Have a hobby. Because if you're so worked up over work, life is gonna kick you in the behind.
Yes, and self-care is very important. Take time for yourself.
Correct. Hell, working out helps.
Yeah.
If even if you're a little bit, not healthy, overweight, working out still helps. Even for 20 minutes. it'll make you happier in time. You just gotta reach those goals, and everyone can. No matter how hard you think it is, everyone can achieve it. Everyone can achieve their dreams. And it's not just because you hear about the American dream. It's not just here. Everyone can.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
And time is obviously a huge factor. As you heard, sometimes time heals wounds. Time heals this. Time helps you with that. Yeah, it can. It can. Time, it's you can't rely on time. If you say, in a few years, maybe I'll get a degree. No, you got to think about now. If you think about the future too much, you're already screwed.
Right. And
because then you're making a false path that you don't know if that's the real path you're going down.
right, and and I will say this: my stance on it is yes, time does heal, but you got to do something in the meantime.
Yeah, and if
I
it
think
feels
that's what
like
you're trying to
time's
say.
not healing enough, yeah. And if you think time's not helping you enough, then maybe it's time to abandon that subject. Abandon that thing that's bothering you. Maybe it's just not worth it in the end.
Yeah, something.
Find something else that'll make you happier.
Right.
And
But
at the end of the day, it's yourself. You know your own limits. Positivity is achievable. Good confidence and self-love is achievable. You just gotta find a way to fight the inner demons. You gotta cleanse them. It's gonna be extremely hard, but you just gotta know when to seek help.
yep.
And there's always ways to find help. If you need help from friends, get help right away. Because life is too short.
It's way too short, and if you sit here for for whatever time you have left, and just worrying about everything, or it's gonna blow by quicker, and you're gonna sit back and you look back on your life and be like, damn, like I spent all that time for nothing, like just worrying.
Right.
Like I could have been doing stuff with my life. I could have
You
been
could have been being happy, doing stuff that makes you happy.
right. Like we only get one life. Unfortunately, like that's just inevitable. So do what you can to make the best of it.
As Thanos once said, he is inevitable. It is inevitable.
Yeah. So do what you can to be happy, and don't try not to focus on the bad, and try not to let it control you as much as you can. It's just like I said, it's just not worth it at the end of the day.
No,
Like
it
make the most of the
if
time you have.
something's worrying you too much, it's probably not worth it.
No.
Like you could be worrying about this huge test you're gonna take, and then it turns out being extremely easy.
Right.
Or maybe you didn't do too well on it. Well, there's always another test
Right.
that you can ace.
Or maybe talk to your professor like, hey, is there any extra credit or whatever? Like there's always options. And yeah, sometimes they're gonna get knocked to the ground, and sometimes life's gonna kick us to the curb, but you just get back up, you shake it off, and you keep moving forward. None of us are ever gonna be perfect. We're all gonna fail plenty of times, but that's normal and that's okay. Often it's failure that teaches us the most about who we are and what we want. So whatever it is, when we do fail, take that experience, learn from
It's
it.
best to learn from history.
Yeah, learn from it, and move forward with that knowledge.
Correct, right? And for anyone out there that is suffering, again, like we've said previously throughout this whole episode, or after Antonio Brown, talk to someone. Or if you know someone personally that you think is going through a situation, simply saying hello can really brighten someone's day. It's incredible to think about, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Just saying hello and, or maybe saying good morning to someone, that could be enough to make their day great.
Yeah, there are studies that back that up. That sit there and they say just saying hello or good morning to somebody can make them happier. It can actually extend years on their life. It's incredible.
Heck, if someone has anxiety about stuff, sometimes in this, social media is not the best climate if you have anxiety and depression. Sure, it can help, but I urge you not to pursue social media and stuff like that for anxiety. I would find a different hobby. But I do know some people that, just seeing that someone is typing on Snapchat or they got a message from someone, that makes them extremely happy. If they see that their favorite person is typing or their best friend is typing, and I talked to this person recently, that brightens their freaking day up, you know?
Yeah,
Just knowing that they're acknowledged.
absolutely.
And, that can really help. Just talking to them. If you suspect it, talk to them. Say hello. Send them a meme. Make them laugh. It's the best healer, is laughter and, happiness, or just friendship. Sometimes that's what you need.
We all need
And,
somebody.
right. It can be a friend, it can be an animal, a pet, it can be obviously family, a friend. Just find a person or something that you're comfortable with.
Right.
And that's at the end of the day, that's what it is. And I hope this episode, for those who watch it, hopefully you do go to that person that you suspect and say hello. Or if you already have talked to them about their problem, just say, you'll get through this.
Yeah, or if you're suffering from it yourself, hopefully something that we've said today has, touched you and
Resonated, yeah.
resonated.
And just know that you will overcome your fears and your anxieties. You will overcome them. Just know that. They don't control you. You control it.
Absolutely, 100%.
I can't put it any other way. There's nothing else to say there,
Yeah,
We are cutting it at the 1 hour mark, and, we could go on for hours talking about this, but unfortunately we do have some time constraints here. We have to cut it down, and, there's always another episode. We probably do another part 2 to this at some point in the future. But I hope, again, that something we said here did resonate with someone out there, and just talk to the people you suspect. Just say hello, good morning, hope you're having a great day. Don't. The worst thing you can do is leave them in the dust. They talk to you, you leave them unopened or delivered, or you just ignore them completely. Like, something's up, but you don't say anything. You're gonna feel worse about yourself because now they're going home overthinking or miserable, and you're sitting at home nice and happy. I mean, I'm not saying you got to take care of all their problems.
no,
But, pushing them in the right direction, or again, saying hello, acknowledging them, that can really brighten their day and motivate them. Like if I were to suspect you were depressed, like something happened, you're not gonna vent to me, and I'm not gonna leave you unopened for 3 days. Absolutely not. I'm gonna at least try to give you some consolation and say, well, although, it's not my personal situation, know that you will get through this. I'm more of a guy that when I give advice, I offer some solutions. And if you don't like my solutions, then I'll try to steer you in a direction where you're comfortable with.
right.
But at the end of that's what you got to try to do. You try to help the person. It's not your life, but you got to try walking in their shoes to help them out. At least in that time frame, where they're going through something really hard. Again, don't leave them in the dust. Yeah, they could be talking to someone else, but it's just the fact that you want to make sure they're okay. Because, again, life is too short. Ignoring people is not the way to go. Because why would you do that? Why would you push people away from you? That's the worst thing you can do. And I know I've heard the excuse, well, I'm not good at talking to people. That's too bad. That's really too bad. Then there's no excuse for, oh, I'm not good at talking to people, because that's another goal you can overcome. Talk to people. You can probably make new friendships that way. Like in school, like if you can tell someone's obviously sad, just sit next to them and say, hey, how you doing? Automatically, better day. They're acknowledged. Correct?
Correct. Absolutely. I agree with this. 100%.
And I'm sure we all know someone that has gone through something like that, where I believe that's how I met you. Obviously I didn't know you had all this crap going on, but I think our meeting obviously
Yeah,
high
I
school
mean, God, that was middle school.
Middle
Jesus,
school.
God, we're
I
getting
mean,
old.
I used
We're
to
getting old, Sean. We're getting old.
I'm being
How
I'm
many
being
years ago was
honest. I
that?
did pick on you. Yeah, too many, fortunately.
Nice.
No, what I'm trying to say is I did pick on you a lot, but you know, I was never that bad.
No.
And at the end of the day, sometimes you got a laugh out of it, and you laughing did help you out in the long run. You know, that's the
Yeah.
good part about it.
And ironically enough, we did become friends.
Yeah.
You know?
And at the end of the day, there we go. I know the phrase on this video is gonna be "at the end of the day" from me. I'm gonna put a counter on top. At the end of the day, counter.
There you go.
But that right. But anyway, again, take the advice from this video. Take it or don't take it. We just hope it. You know, someone out there is listening and knowing that they're acknowledged. Know that anything they're trying to do can be overcome. I almost said overcame. Overcome. But everything is achievable. And
Achievable?
achievable, you know. Cut. Everything is achievable, you know. Everything is, and you know that. Unfortunately, this is the end of the episode, and we do want to have to make some announcements before we cut it here. Do you have anything else to add before we get to some announcements?
Yeah, so, I mean, we kind of mentioned it a little bit before, but, unfortunately, Clueless J was delayed, and actually, you got J Sports Review as well. I remember we mentioned that, I think, in the last episode, that I was gonna, come out with the first episode for that, but unfortunately, due to, like, technical difficulties, especially, we haven't been able to get other content out. We are currently working on that, and we do expect a Clueless J to be released within within a week at least, and I would say at most. With definitely planning to do that soon. And J Sports Review will also likely be released within a week.
Yep, and that was what I was going to announce. You know, Clueless J will be playing Injustice 2, which is a fighting game. And we already have plans for other games coming up. It won't be. Thing is, for our last episode, we hoped it would get out earlier than we thought it would, and all the footage was cut and it was all over the place. We don't want that content to be crappy, because then that wouldn't be staying true to ourselves and being true to our whatever fan base we have so far.
Right. And
we want to release the best content possible for what we have.
Right, and I am very excited to play Injustice 2 before. I've never played it before at all. So I
literally told him that he could play as Batman. He's like, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I am Batman. He's
excited.
I was gonna say that first. God damn it. I'm Batman. Don't worry. We're gonna throw a counter in that too for you. So count the amount of times I say I'm Batman.
Yeah, it's already planned. We also have some other episodes planned. We have a Clueless J series coming up that I have planned in the future. Clueless J plays Subnautica. I'm sure he's excited because he screamed and he was in creative mode in the Clueless J episode. So I can't wait for him to have a full playthrough of that game. I'm sure you're super excited.
Yeah, and let's not forget. Since we're sitting here announcing everything,
Revenge.
after a couple more episodes of Clueless J, one or two episodes after that, I will be getting my revenge, and I will be making Sean play Madden for the first time, and I cannot wait to see that, because that's just, I'm gonna get the bucket of popcorn ready, because that's just gonna be one hell of a show.
Oh, trust me, pal. Put me on recruit mode or whatever, the easiest mode. I'll start kicking some behinds.
Oh no, I'm not putting you on beginner. Anybody who's ever played Madden knows if you're on beginner, there's no stopping you. You literally could be the Jaguars and crush crush the Chiefs. It's bad on beginner mode. So no, I'm not putting you on beginner. No, you're gonna play the game legit. Pro style. No. It's not going to be easy, buddy.
Alright, it's fine. Don't worry, we have plenty of episodes in store for you as well. Thanks everyone for stopping by for this mental health episode part 1. We hope again that it resonated with someone out there. And everyone take care. Get help if you can. And know that you're acknowledged.
Have a good one, y'all.